Ugh. Hi. Welcome to 2022, by the way. Happy New Year. I'm recording this on the 10th day of the new year. It's January 10th. 2021 was a hell of a year, and 2022 is going to be also a hell of a year. Hopefully with more good things, a lot more good things this year. But I wanted this to be like a nice, easy, like, opening to how I want my YouTube channel to go. Because last year I made a whopping one video. And it was my What's in My Camera Bag video. And if you've seen it before, great, that's awesome. If you haven't, feel free to go watch it. I have this, not necessarily resolution set for myself, but I have this goal set for myself to post at least 2 YouTube videos a month for this entire year. So I'm going to try that. And this is video number 1. I had a hard time trying to figure out how I wanted to make this like a nice, easy, like, start. And I was thinking about it, and I want to make this kind of like a thought-provoking video. Because finding my identity after getting my bachelor's degree and starting my photography business full-time and just going through life outside of college being an artist, I started thinking back on some of the things that we did talk about in college. And there was one thing that sat in my brain that I want to talk about because I always found it to be really interesting. I had this class. I had a few classes that did this, but this one class in particular, we had a few discussions about the idea between image makers versus image takers, and whether they're the same thing or not. And I want to talk about it a little bit because I've heard a lot of different things about these two ideas. I kind of like, it's hard because neither of those things really have a true definition, but they do have like ideas behind them. Image takers and image makers usually mean photographers. They usually mean painters. They mean graphic designers. They mean pretty much anybody that can make an image out of something. Like graffiti artists or people that make images out of pebbles or string or something. Whether they claim that title or not, that's totally up to them, but in some sort of way they're making an image for the time being, or for a career. Specifically in this class, we talked about whether photographers were image takers or image makers. And there were people that took different sides on it, obviously. They're like, well, photographers are image takers because they capture a specific time and place, and they take that image and just freeze time around it. That's an image that they have taken from that moment in time. Whereas people who were talking about image makers were like, but there's still Photoshop, there's still multimedia, there's still cyanotypes and Van Dykes, and like tintypes and Polaroids and just things like that, where they can make an image physical, or they build an image just out of a blank slate. I was one of those people that never took sides on it because I never believed that they had to be, or they were one or the other. They were always both. It also kind of like brings me to a point where it's kind of interesting because what also tagged down with that conversation was the idea of creating versus capturing. Now, creating usually means, you make something out of a thing, or you make something out of nothing. Capturing means you take a thing, almost. Hey Siri. What is the definition of capturing?
As a verb, capture means take into one's possession or control by force. Do you want to hear the remaining one?
No. So yeah, capturing as a verb, thanks to Google, means take into one's possession, record or express accurately in words or pictures. So it's recording something that's already there, whereas creating can be out of nothing. In that case, it would be like, oh, capturing goes to image takers and creating goes to image makers. But is that always true? Is it? You don't have to make a brand new thing to be an image maker. You can take an image, or you can take a piece of time, or you can take this frame that already exists and just make something new out of it. For example, like Barbara Kruger, okay? She has these images that already existed, and she plugged those words and she plugged those quotes onto those words to make a new image out of something that already existed. Right? Even like in more like physical terms, if we look at artists who use, like I said before, cyanotypes and tintypes and Van Dyks, and they take actual images that exist and make them into a physical thing. That's something that has already been in existence and is just put into a different form. Making something that's from taking. There's this one person I follow on Instagram, and I think her username is Alexandria's Lens. Yeah, Alexandria's Lens on Instagram and on TikTok. She's a really interesting TikTok. It's really good. But she takes pictures and takes photographs and makes entire like other worlds out of them. She makes like Harry Potter themed ones. She made Alice in Wonderland ones. She made like Harry Potter images just out of images that she took of her children. That's awesome. She started with an image that she took and just turned it into something else. Are photographers image makers, or are they image takers? I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters because any kind of way that an image is produced is still going to be art. And that could bring me into a whole other conversation of what is art and how do you know it's art and what makes something art. And that's... could make another video about that. Actually, I might. But it all centers back to the idea that art is subjective. Art is what it is because it's perceived to be something by other people. It has this piece of itself that is meant to be felt or seen or touched or something. Another example I think of when I think of photographers being both image makers and image takers is also just in more like even just simply portraits. Because I think of Irene Rudnick, and she takes beautiful portraits. Beautiful portraits. And she will make this portrait seem like it's from another era, or she'll make it seem like it's from like this ethereal world. Like there was a shoot that she did, a maternity shoot, and it was just like the way that she like had the model dressed and the scenery, like these images just glowed just because of the way that she took and made them. I think if you think about it even deeper, photographers have to be image makers because of editing, and they have to be image takers because again, you take pieces of real time and you freeze them. I had put this prompt into my Facebook group, and my mom, oh, I love my mom, in this group, I was like, I know there are discussions and thoughts around the idea of image makers and photographers or image takers. That's probably a typo. Being the same or different from each other, and I'd like to know what you guys think. Because my mom is a genius. She's like, I think they're different. A photographer can be an image maker can be a photographer. A graphic designer can be an image maker. Can you define image maker? And, well, no, not really. So I was like, I think part of this idea is that an image maker can be defined in many ways because images can be made in many, many ways. When I was in college, we talked about how photographers can be image makers in terms of using fine art techniques or advertising techniques. Outside of that, photographers are image takers, but even now, I don't know if I agree with that entirely. And then she said something that I still thought was really interesting. She said, okay, so I'm an image maker. For those of you who don't know, my mom is a seamstress, and she makes amazing clothing. I will put her link into my description below for her Instagram, and you can see like the clothes she makes because that's awesome. And not just because I'm biased, but she makes really amazing stuff. But she has there's still an image making quality to 3D art as well. If you want to get super, super scientific about it or super technical about it, I would even take a route of saying everything is an image because that's how your brain perceives it, but I'm not going to go there. But she was also a painter when she was younger. I remember her painting a lot when I was a kid, and she painted a lot when she was a kid and just molded into making 3D art and 3D lots of things. And she's a very skilled-handed person just in a lot of arts in general. So, but it was interesting for her to bring up this idea of her being a seamstress and still being an image maker, because I do believe that to be true. I wanted to just have this be a short little thought-provoking thing, because I love being able to see the tutorials, and I love being able to see how people make images and how people take images on YouTube, but I wanted to also throw in the idea of, well, what if we talked about these theories and we talked about these ideas, because it's interesting, it's compelling, and makes people think differently about art and the world around them, and the art in the world around them. But what do you think?